This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, and welcome to Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network powered by Raven International. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. This is the show where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love and rediscover the truth of who you really are. A couple of weeks ago, I was watching an episode of Shark Tank. The man facing the sharks was trying to sell them on the idea of investing in his new method to generate electricity that, according to him, would pay for itself. All of the sharks greeted him with skepticism. One even said he wasn't sure if this man was a genius or a madman. In the end, he walked away empty-handed. To me, this represented the way most of us look at the new and the innovative. Our first reaction is to dismiss it. After all, if it's such a great idea, how come someone didn't come up with it sooner? Or if it's something that tests the bounds of what we consider acceptable knowledge, we scoff at it as being unrealistic or impossible, without taking the time to educate ourselves on whether there's evidence to back up the claims. One area where this holds true is in the area of quantum entanglement. The idea that every particle in the universe is connected and as energy can be used over great distances. One person who's breaking the bounds of currently accepted knowledge is my guest today, researcher Tom Paladino. Tom has studied the work of Nikola Tesla, who developed the concept of scalar energy, and he has come up with a way to use it for long-distance healing. So, what is scalar energy and what does it do? Let's have him explain. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Tom.
My honor to be here. Thank you, Debbie.
Oh, it is my pleasure, Tom. So, Tom, for those of us who don't have a degree in physics, could you give us a simple explanation of what scalar energy is?
Sure. This is simple. It's sunlight or starlight. There is another energy spectrum besides electricity. It's scalar energy, what some people call zero-point energy or Tesla energy. I am working with that other energy. It's very real. And many people are starting to realize that there is another energy dimension, scalar energy.
Well, like I said, you have developed a way of reading a person's scalar energy through the use of their photograph. So tell me, how does that work?
Right. I am working with customized scalar energy instruments. I've studied from one of the masters. His name is Galen Hieronymus, and I essentially inherited his notes and his instruments. And with the scalar energy instruments, again, we're working with scalar energy, not electricity. I'm able to read the force field. I'm able to read the scalar energy signature on a photograph. So people will send me their photograph or a photograph of their animal, and this instrument can read the scalar energy force field or the scalar energy signature on a photograph.
And so what does it actually read?
It can read their chakra alignment and correct their chakra alignment. It can read the presence of toxins and pathogens and correct or eradicate or eliminate or cure that presence of toxins. The scalar energy instrument can be used to assemble nutrients. Now, I do all of this by way of photographs because a photograph is a representation of a person, an animal, or a plant. So this is a new science. It demands a new vocabulary. It demands a new way of looking at reality. Again, we're not working with electricity. So I work exclusively with photographs because those photographs are symbolic or they represent people, animals, or plants.
So why, though, a photograph? I mean, why can't you do it with the actual person?
You know, I think you can, but I prefer to do this with a photograph because it's so much easier and people don't have to travel to an office. So the instruments that I've developed are working explicitly with photographs. because we can miniaturize a photograph. We can place maybe 1,000 or 10,000 photographs in an instrument simultaneously. So I'm really looking at economies of scale now. I don't want people to have to travel a long distance to receive an in-person session. I do not want people to have to pay money or be inconvenienced. It's much easier to develop an instrument that works with a person's photograph than a person having to be actually physically present.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that what happens is that in this instrument, the light is applied to the photograph, and that's
Yes.
how it determines. So what does the light, you said the light changes their, you can align their chakra or do other things like that.
Right.
So when this is happening, is the person who sent in the photograph feeling anything, or what's happening with them?
Many people feel the effect after these sessions. So you're right. I do take a photograph and I actually place it physically inside the instrument. If this is my photograph, I would actually place a photograph of a person physically inside the instrument. And then the instrument would make a connection in that quantum realm, or what you refer to as quantum entanglement. Very good. And in so doing, I'm working through this scalar energy paradigm. I'm not working through the electromagnetic paradigm. So not to get too deep into this, I'm working in a different dimension that allows me to have access to force fields by way of a person's photograph, in which I can balance the chakras, I can balance the brain waves, or I can eradicate a toxin, such as a virus or a bacterium.
So how can something like the scalar light change those things in a person?
Everything is information, and your photograph is embodied with scalar energy information. So with a photograph, my instrument will interpret your energetic pattern or your force fields on that photograph. Meaning what? A photograph carries your real-time present informational field. So whatever your physical, mental, emotional constitution is at that moment, the instrument will interpret and understand your physical, emotional, mental constitution at that moment. Okay, with that in mind, then we can access that force field by way of your photograph. Now, I will caution everybody, this has never been done before. This is all groundbreaking science. And I have favorable results. I have a website in which people report their favorable results. But it is such a groundbreaking concept that it takes time to really embrace this. This has never been done before, not to my knowledge.
I never heard of it before I heard of you, so I would certainly agree to it. And it sounds like it has the potential to be an incredible thing for people. So just to go through the process. So the light is applied to the photograph and a person can feel it. I can understand how it reads the person's energy and it reads them and gives you an analysis of the reading. But then how does it change what is going on?
Very good. And that's the mystery. And I contend that every person has a scalar energy force field, not just an electromagnetic force field. So keep in mind, I work exclusively with scalar energy. I'm not working with electricity. So if I can effectuate a change in a person or an animal, it's because I can access their scalar energy force field. Now, modern day physics has never accepted that people embody a scalar energy force field, but it's true. And indeed, it is real. And my point is that goes back to the quantum entanglement. The only way you can explain quantum entanglement, in which all particles, all physical matter in the universe is interconnected, is by way of this interconnected paradigm. So what really is scalar energy? It's the presence of God. It's the omnipresence of God. If everything is interconnected, only God can do that. So what have I tapped into? I've tapped into God's force field. I've tapped into a divine force field. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's an amazing declaration to make. So you feel like you're playing God?
No, because I want to be humble and I want to acknowledge that I am the instrument, so to speak. I am not the originator. But I will go on record. I have tapped into this God force. I have incredible power with these instruments. These instruments allow me to control nature. I'm going to repeat that. I have consummate control over nature with these instruments. It really is a very grave responsibility that I have.
So, like you said, it affects a person's force field. It makes changes. How long do those changes and those effects last after the treatment?
Okay, to give you an example, people will send me photographs and I can detect the herpes virus. I can detect by way of their photograph that they have the herpes virus. And we've been able to break apart, destroy, transmute the herpes virus. And thereafter, many of those people will get a medical test, or they will at least tell me by word of mouth testimony that they no longer have the symptoms of herpes. Now, I cannot prove that according to Western medicine because I don't practice Western medicine. I practice a new science with photographs, but I can attest that on my end, I was able, by way of their photograph, to detect the herpes virus and to destroy it, break it apart. That is my claim. So I have nothing to do with Newtonian physics, but from my vantage point, I can destroy the herpes virus.
That is an amazing, incredible claim. What are some of the other things that can be healed through this method?
Over the past 2-3 years, we've been working with an HIV clinic in India. And many people have submitted their photograph to us. And invariably, everybody that has submitted their photograph and we've worked with them for HIV, they're all feeling better. Now, many of those people have gone on to get a diagnostic test, and the diagnostic test shows no presence of the HIV virus. And that's fine. That's their proof, or that's their word of mouth testimony. I can't accentuate this enough. We have two different force fields, hence we have two different languages and two different interpretations. So by my vantage point, I can take the HIV virus, detect it upon a photograph, and I can break that down. That's easy to do.
You say it's easy, but it sounds fantastical.
Okay, let me explain. All matter, including a virus, is held together by a molecular bond, some type of bond. And what my instrument does, it negates that bond. It breaks it apart. Now, the inventor, his name is Galen Hieronymus, he purported that everything had binding energy. Back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, he was using the term binding energy. Today, we might use the term covalent bonds or hydrogen bonds. But just imagine a molecule is held together by intelligence. And I negate that intelligence. So when you do that, what happens? The HIV virus is brought to a state of chaos. And that's what I do. I break the molecular bonds, it breaks apart. That's it. It's that simple.
Wow. Well, it sounds simple, but obviously it isn't, that because it is a totally new, I would say, science or new modality.
It is. It's a new science. Precisely. 200 years ago, if you tried to explain to somebody electricity or a satellite, they would be at a loss. Today, those are common terms. And we've developed a language to describe satellites and electricity.
Mm-hmm. This is true. Well, we're going to go into this in more detail, but we're going to take a short break now. We are speaking about scalar energy and its healing properties with Tom Paladino, and we'll be right back. If you're not pleased with the trajectory of your life, the time to begin your own personal transformation is now, and your dreams can help pave the way. How? By tapping into your unvoiced confidence. What is unvoiced confidence, you say? It's the acceptance of your abilities and qualities. It's a state of mind coming from liking and even loving yourself, and feeling free to say or do anything you want without concern for the judgment of others. You were born confident, but may have had it chipped away little by little by the negative self-beliefs you've picked up over the years. If you're looking for the heightened energy, clarity of thought, and the feeling of being more alive that comes from self-confidence, you can rediscover it by paying attention to your dreams. Need some help doing this? Go to my website, thedreamcoach.net, and sign up for my complimentary dream discovery session. I can help show you how your dreams can help you return to the confident person you were always meant to be. Again, go to thedreamcoach.net. Thedreamcoach.net.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're speaking with Tom Paladino about scalar energy. Well, Tom, I've been aware for a long time that energy is all around us, and we are all energetic beings. And I've heard of different ways of describing energy, like chi or prana. How does scalar energy differ from them?
In many ways, those terms are synonymous. For centuries, we've called it om or chi or prana. Today, the common parlance is 0-point energy or pyramid energy or ether energy. I would say most of those terms are synonymous, depending on the cultural background. But there is another energy. And what some people call chi, prana, today the scientific community is calling a longitudinal wave or scalar energy. So it's so simple. There's two energies. Sadly, the world is fixated on electromagnetic energy. That's fine. It's valid. But we're oblivious to the other energy. We've ignored the other energy, which is to our detriment. There are two energies.
Mm-hmm. So would you say then that the instruments that you've developed are sort of a mechanized way of using the healing that other people use chi and prana and om for to get the healing?
Exactly. For instance, I believe people have healing hands, and I believe those healing hands are scalar energy hands, or it's chi or prana or scalar energy that a healing hands can emit. So when a faith healer would lay their hands upon you, those are healing hands. And people obviously have to walk in faith if you can be healed by the laying upon of hands. I have an instrument that controls, so to speak, the energy of the healing hands. It's a scalar energy instrument. And this is what is so exciting about my work. I'm not working with electricity. I think electricity has its drawbacks and its limitations. To the contrary, scalar energy has no limitations. It's infinite energy. So once we embrace this new technology, there will be a new way of living. Scalar energy will change the course of history.
A profound declaration to make, for sure. I also wanted to touch on, one of the other long-distance healing methods, like Reiki. So would you say this is just another way to do Reiki, or a more mechanized way to do Reiki?
It depends on how you define these terms. But let me say this. When people pray, I believe that's a broadcast, or that's some type of emanation of scalar energy. Okay. And what is scalar energy? Again, it's a force field of God. It's the divine energy. So prayer is a divine thought. It's a divine invocation. And my instrument is a divine prayer. So every time I work with my instrument, I always pray. I believe that is some type of faith healing, yes. It does follow scientific principles, yes. But nonetheless, we can see emerging now of religion and science. And that's one of the vanguard statements that I will make, that scalar energy will eventually prove that religion and science are the same.
Again, another profound declaration.
Right.
Well, Tom, when I hear about a new wave healing or a method that I hadn't been aware of before, I always like to hear examples of how it's worked on people. I mean, you gave me the examples of herpes and HIV, but can you give me some other examples on like individual people and how they've been affected?
Maybe I should really emphasize more often than I do that this will balance the 7 chakras, or your brain waves. Many people say they have a sense of peace or tranquility after our sessions. Now, keep in mind, I only work with people by way of a photograph. So obviously, I'm able to access their brain waves or their chakras by way of their photograph in some capacity. And many people say that this has helped them with depression or schizophrenia. Many people say that this has simply given them a sense of calm. They're no longer fearful, or others say they no longer procrastinate, et cetera, et cetera. So this does seem to be a brain boost or a brain reprogramming.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I didn't ask you before was, when you put the photograph into your instruments, is the effect instantaneous?
Yes, very good. Everything in a scalar energy force field is instantaneous. Now, keep in mind, if you have quantum entanglement of all physical matter in the universe, that entails instantaneous communication. So if you have an instantaneous physical connection, you have to have an instantaneous communication. And that's what I've discovered about scalar energy. It's just not really the physical realm is cumbersome. It's the informational realm that I work with. So a scalar energy instrument will observe quantum entanglement with physical matter, yes, but even more importantly, with information fields.
So how do you see the future for scalar energy? Because you said you're the only person doing this now. So
to my knowledge, I'm the only one with this type of calibrated instrument, this type of customized instrument. And I look at results. I'm all about performance results. And if you can't show me results, I'm really not interested. Well, I look at my results for the past 25 years. I have results to speak of. So what is my point? If we can develop this as a science, scalar energy will replace most of our existing technology. Scalar energy will be the new wave of technology. In other words, many of the inventions today are going to be passé, obsolete. And this new technology will take over. Many of the current technologies in the world will go the way of the horse and buggy.
So you say you've been doing this for a while. So what has been the reaction of the scientific community?
Very little. They don't know what to think of it. But I have to say that there is a genuine curiosity on their part. And I can't fault them because it's brand new. No, they look at my results and they're astounded. But for them to make the jump from electromagnetic theory to scalar theory is difficult because most scientists have been schooled with electromagnetic theory. They don't consider the other energy. So it's difficult to convince the scientific world that there's two energies. It's never taught in academia.
So would you say that the sort of the equivalent of discovering that the Earth revolves around the sun as opposed to Earth?
Yeah. It's going to be, I guarantee you, this is going to be monumental. I guarantee you. If you consider my scalar energy instrument could easily work with 1 billion people a year. 1 billion people a year could achieve a chakra balancing. 1 billion people a year could be cleansed pathogenically. And we do all of this by way of that paradigm, the 0-point energy paradigm or the scalar energy paradigm. This is going to be really headline news someday.
So are you looking to license this technology or provide equipment?
No, I won't. I won't release the technology because it's so powerful and I don't want it to get into the wrong hands. So I will remain the guardian of this technology for the next few years.
Okay, then I have to ask you, what got you interested in this in the first place?
I was gifted by God. I knew I would have a mission in furthering this type of technology, God's light, God's divine light. And I picked this up as a youngster. I understood this intuitively. So in many ways, it was infused wisdom. God gave me that infused wisdom. And I could take the abstract and then bring about a functioning reality by way of instrumentation. So that's tough to do, to take something conceptually, and then eventually in practice, you can put that into use and into practice around the world. That's what I've done.
So have you put your own photograph into this?
Oh, yeah. Every day. Oh, yeah. Every day.
If the results are lasting, then why every day?
Well, that's a good point because we change. We're mutable. And anybody's chakras could fall out of line. I look at this as a means to provide myself with nutrition. I work with myself every day to fortify myself with vitamins, antioxidants, etc. I germ cleanse myself every day because germs are everywhere. And they can infect me on a daily basis. So I practice what I preach. I treat myself every day by way of my photograph, and I think I'm enjoying sound health because of that.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the idea that it helps with nutrition. So if you're reading a person's photograph, do you then get back to the person and tell them that they should be eating certain things, or
Never.
how does that work?
Never. And the reason being, I would be taking God's place. I let the instrument, the intelligence, do all the work. I let the instrument diagnose, treat, work on the photograph. And that way I step aside and I don't put my human will into the matter. What am I getting at? It's divine energy. It knows what to do. It doesn't need my help. God doesn't need my advice. So I let the energy do all the work. And the energy alone is the animating force without any input on my part.
Okay, so then how does the person know what they need to do with their life?
They simply go about their daily lives. I work with people, I work with animals, and I simply tell them, let this be. Go about your daily lives. I'm not asking you to change anything, but let's see what the energy does for you. And again, I call it self-directed, or the energy has this self-intelligence. It's God's intelligence. So I simply tell people, go about your normal daily affairs. Let the energy perform the healing.
You just touch on that you also do this with animals. So
right.
What happens with the animals?
Invariably, the animals feel better, because invariably the animals need a brain reprogramming, a chakra reprogramming, and many animals are filled with parasites. Most animals respond quite favorably after a week or so.
So it's they're humans come to you and say, my
yes.
animal, whatever it is not feeling well, and they go through the system.
Many people treat their pets. Many people love their pets.
And they've come back to you and said that it's worked.
Yes, precisely. Exactly.
Well, we're almost out of time. I just have time for this one final question, which is, how can people find out about this and about your services?
The website is scalarlight.com. Please look at the website. We offer everybody in the world 15 days of free sessions. And again, you're going to email us your photograph. We only work in the quantum realm by way of your photograph. So scalarlight.com, read the literature. If you like it, then submit your photograph to us. We'll work with your entire family. You can submit the photograph of your entire family, including your pets. We'll work with you for free for 15 days, and then you decide if this is of merit. You decide if you've benefited from this.
So in that 15 days, is the photograph put into the instrument for 15 days, or is it there constantly for 15 days?
Constantly for 15 days. 1 hour a day, I work with chakras. I treat for chakras. The other hour, the second hour, I cleanse of parasites, bacteria, etc. The other 22 hours, I work with nutrients. I download nutrients. So it's a 24-hour session around the clock.
Around the clock for 15 days in the trial.
Yeah.
Well, very interesting, very informative, very eye-opening. Well, Tom, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today.
Thank you.
We've been speaking about scalar energy and its effects with Tom Paladino. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If you have, please tell all your friends, follow me, and drop a positive review on your podcast site. And if you're on Clubhouse, join me in my club, Club Dreams, where I host weekly rooms on all aspects of dream work. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International.